Did you know that after age 60, we begin to lose muscle mass at an accelerated rate? This process, called sarcopenia, can directly affect your strength, balance, and independence. But the good news is that it is possible to slow down and even reverse this loss with simple and effective strategies in your daily life. In this video, you will understand what is behind muscle loss in aging and discover what really works to keep your body strong, active, and healthy. Diet, sleep, exercise, and professional monitoring. Everything explained in a clear, practical, and science-based way. Stay until the end and see how to turn small habits into big results for your health. As we age, our bodies undergo several natural changes. Among them, perhaps one of the most silent but also most impactful is the progressive loss of muscle mass, a condition known as sarcopenia. This process, which intensifies after age 60, not only weakens muscles but also compromises mobility, balance, and even functional autonomy in older adults. What many people don't know is that this process is not only caused by inactivity or aging itself. Poor nutrition, especially low protein intake at strategic times of the day, such as before bedtime, can significantly accelerate this muscle decline. During sleep, the human body enters a prolonged period of fasting, usually between 6 and 9 hours without any nutrient intake. This period, although essential for tissue recovery and regeneration, can pose a metabolic challenge for older adults, whose bodies are already less efficient at synthesizing protein and regenerating muscle fibers. When the body does not receive enough protein to sustain this nighttime maintenance process, it may end up using muscle mass as an energy source, exacerbating muscle loss over time. It is in this context that consuming an adequate amount of high-quality protein before bedtime emerges as a powerful and often overlooked nutritional strategy. Protein intake at this time not only provides the essential amino acids needed for muscle repair and maintenance, but can also keep protein synthesis at positive levels during sleep. In other words, the body continues to build and preserve muscle even while we rest, as long as it has the right resources to do so. Recent studies in sports and geriatric nutrition have shown that nighttime protein consumption can significantly increase nighttime muscle protein synthesis. What's more, these benefits are not limited to athletes or young people seeking hypertrophy. They are even more relevant for the elderly, precisely because this group has greater anabolic resistance. That is, they need more nutritional stimulation to maintain the same level of muscle response that a young person would have with a smaller amount of protein. It is important to note that the choice of protein also makes a difference. So-called high biological quality proteins, such as those found in animal products, milk, eggs, yogurt, and some lean meats, contain all the essential amino acids in adequate proportions. Among these sources, milk and yogurt stand out as excellent options for the evening, as they are easy to digest, convenient to consume, and contain casein, a slow-digesting protein that gradually releases amino acids into the bloodstream during the night, keeping the body nourished for longer. A glass of warm milk before bed, in addition to being a tradition in many cultures, can be a true ally for the muscle health of older adults. Milk, because it contains both casein and whey protein in its composition, provides a combined effect of immediate and prolonged release of amino acids. And that's not to mention the other benefits associated with milk, such as the supply of calcium and vitamin D, two nutrients that also play crucial roles in maintaining bone and muscle health. However, for those who are lactose intolerant or prefer dairy-free options, alternatives are also available. Lactose-free yogurt, a protein-enriched plant-based drink, or even a pea or rice-based protein supplement with professional guidance can fulfill this role. The important thing is to ensure that there is at least 20 to 40 grams of good quality protein in this evening snack, which is enough to effectively stimulate protein synthesis in older adults. Often, older adults consume most of their protein at main meals, such as lunch, and end up eating a light dinner or even skipping it altogether. This creates an imbalance in protein distribution throughout the day, reducing the body's overall utilization. Ideally, protein intake should be divided more evenly, including a boost before bedtime, especially if the elderly person is involved in a regular exercise routine, such as light weight training, Pilates, or water aerobics. It is essential to emphasize that this strategy should be applied with common sense and preferably with the guidance of a nutritionist or geriatrician. Each body is unique, and conditions such as kidney failure, diabetes, or food intolerances should be considered when determining the most appropriate amount and type of protein. But when properly guided, this simple practice, consuming a light protein source before bed, can be one of the most effective interventions for preserving strength, functionality, and quality of life in older adults. When we talk about about muscle health in aging, we almost always hear about a protein-rich diet, regular strength training, or the role of supplements. And indeed, these are fundamental pillars. However, there is a silent factor that is often underestimated but absolutely crucial for maintaining muscle mass over the years: sleep. Sleeping well is not a luxury. For older adults, quality sleep is a deep physiological need, and when neglected, it can become one of the greatest enemies of muscle health and healthy aging. Sleep is a biological moment of restoration and reconstruction. During this seemingly passive period, the body performs highly active and complex activities. It repairs tissues, balances hormones, strengthens the immune system, and above all, promotes muscle protein synthesis, which is the process of building and recovering muscle fibers that suffer microdamage throughout the day. This microdamage occurs naturally with movement, physical exertion, and even with the simple act of supporting the body's weight while standing or moving. Without deep, uninterrupted sleep, this regeneration process does not happen efficiently. The result: muscles do not repair themselves as they should, do not grow, and over time, atrophy. In older adults, this situation is exacerbated by a natural tendency toward fragmented sleep. Many older adults report difficulty falling asleep, multiple nighttime awakenings, shallow sleep, and feelings of tiredness, even after hours of rest. This condition, which is often treated as a normal part of aging, can have very serious consequences. Poor sleep reduces the nighttime release of anabolic hormones, such as growth hormone, GH, and testosterone, both of which are essential for maintaining muscle integrity and strength. The drop in the production of these hormones directly impairs the body's ability to preserve and recover muscles, in addition to affecting energy, mood, and even the motivation to move the next day. In addition, poor sleep increases levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. At high and chronic levels, cortisol has a catabolic effect, meaning it promotes muscle breakdown. It's as if the body is slowly undoing what it has built up during the day, night after night. For older adults who already face a slower metabolism and reduced anabolic capacity, this nighttime loss can be critical. It contributes to muscle frailty, increased risk of falls, and the dreaded sarcopenia, which is not just a matter of aesthetics or strength, but a factor directly associated with loss of independence and early mortality. But the relationship between sleep and muscle health goes beyond hormonal physiology. Poor sleep affects behavioral decisions and daily habits. People who sleep poorly tend to have less energy, more body aches, greater irritability, and less willingness to eat well or exercise. This cycle creates a domino effect. Older adults who don't sleep well exercise less, eat worse, feel more tired, and end up losing muscle mass due to inactivity. In other words, sleep not only influences muscle biology, but also the entire behavioral context surrounding body care. Given this scenario, taking care of sleep becomes an essential component of any muscle preservation strategy in older adults, and that does not necessarily mean resorting to medication. On the contrary, many sleep medications, especially those used continuously, can worsen the quality of deep sleep or cause unwanted side effects, such as daytime sleepiness, mental confusion, or an increased risk of falls. The best approach, whenever possible, is to promote good sleep hygiene, a set of practices that naturally promote deep, restful sleep. These practices include maintaining regular bedtimes and wake-up times, even on weekends, avoiding bright lights and electronic devices at least 1 hour before bedtime, eating an early, light dinner, reducing caffeine and stimulant consumption in the evening, and creating a dark, quiet, and comfortable environment in the bedroom. In addition, relaxing activities such as quiet reading, listening to soft music, or taking a warm bath before bed can signal to the body that it is time to rest. Another measure that deserves special attention is exposure to natural light in the morning. This simple habit helps regulate the circadian cycle, the biological clock that controls sleep and wakefulness, and improves the quality of nighttime sleep. For older adults who spend a lot of time indoors, walking outdoors in the early hours of the day can have powerful effects on sleep and, consequently, on muscle health. In some cases, more serious disorders such as sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, or chronic insomnia require medical evaluation and specialized follow-up. Ignoring these problems can mean living with constant, silent muscle loss. Therefore, if older adults snore heavily, wake up choking, get up several times to urinate, or feel excessively sleepy during the day, it is essential to seek professional help. Treating sleep is treating the body as a whole. Preserving muscles in older adults requires more than exercise and good nutrition. It also requires recognizing sleep as an active agent of recovery, strength, and longevity. Sleeping well is one of the most powerful and simple acts for maintaining vitality, balance, and autonomy. And in the context of healthy aging, each night of good sleep becomes a renewed chance to preserve what we hold most precious, the ability to live with freedom and dignity. For a long time, it was believed that aging was synonymous with frailty. Once you reached 60, 70, or 80, it was accepted, almost as a natural sentence, that you would lose strength, have difficulty getting out of bed, walk more slowly, and need increasing help with everyday tasks. But this view is outdated. Science and clinical practice have already shown us that, although Although aging does bring inevitable physical changes, the loss of muscle mass and strength is not mandatory. It is largely the result of inactivity, and what inactivity takes years to weaken, regular physical activity with a focus on strength can restore, preserve, and even improve. Contrary to what many people think, older adults not only can but should do strength training. Those images of older people lifting weights at the gym or doing squats under supervision are not exceptions or rarities. They are practical expressions of active and intelligent aging. This is because resistance exercises, those involving weights, elastic bands, or your own body weight, have direct and powerful effects on muscle mass, bones, joints, metabolism, and even mental health. The human body's muscles are like a functional reserve that supports everything we do, from sitting and standing up to holding objects, climbing stairs, maintaining balance, and preventing falls. As we age, this reserve decreases, especially if the body is not stimulated. The phenomenon of sarcopenia, the progressive and marked loss of muscle mass, is closely linked to a sedentary lifestyle. An older adult who spends most of their time sitting, lying down, or inactive can lose up to 3% of their muscle mass per year. This means that in a decade, they can lose almost a third of their functional strength. That is why many people go from being independent to dependent in just a few years, not because of illness, but because of disuse of the body. The good news is that muscles respond to physical stimulation at any age. That's right, even at 70, 80, or 90, it is still possible to gain strength, endurance, and even increase muscle mass. And the type of exercise that most promotes this effect is strength training, whether with light dumbbells, elastic bands, weight machines, or simple bodyweight movements such as sitting down and getting up from a chair, climbing stairs, or pushing against a wall. What matters is generating enough stimulus for the muscle to wake up and receive the message that it is still needed, still useful, still needs to exist and stay strong. In addition to preserving muscles, strength exercises also strengthen bones. This is crucial for preventing osteoporosis, a common condition among older adults, especially women after menopause. The light, controlled impact of exercise aids bone formation and reduces the risk of fractures. Another advantage is improved balance and motor coordination, which considerably reduces the risk of falls, one of the most dangerous and debilitating events in old age. The benefits don't stop there. Regular physical activity focused on strength also improves insulin sensitivity, helping to control glucose and prevent or treat type 2 diabetes. In addition, it contributes to blood pressure regulation, improves sleep quality, reduces anxiety and depression levels, and increases feelings of well-being. There is also a huge emotional gain. Older adults who strength train feel more confident, more capable, and more in control of their bodies. This empowerment has profound effects on self-esteem and mental health. To reap all these benefits, however, it is essential that exercise is adapted, safe, and progressive. It is not about lifting heavy weights or performing intense movements like a high-performance athlete. The key word is functionality. A good workout for older adults should respect joint limitations, avoid unnecessary overload, and prioritize consistency over time. 2 to 3 sessions per week, lasting between 30 and 60 minutes, are enough to promote significant changes. Ideally, you should be supervised by a qualified professional, such as a physical therapist, physical educator, or sports doctor, who can design a specific training plan based on your health history, current physical condition, and personal goals. Many older adults, out of fear or misinformation, end up shying away from weight training or resistance exercises. But when they start, they discover not only that they are capable, but also that exercise becomes a moment of pleasure, achievement, and socialization. Another important point is that strength training can and should be combined with other forms of movement. Walking, dancing, water aerobics, stretching, and balance activities complement training and keep the body moving in a complete way. But among all the modalities, weight training or resistance training remains the foundation for preserving autonomy, because it is strength that allows us to lift, carry, protect ourselves, and live with more freedom. Aging well does not mean avoiding time, but rather preparing the body to live well at every stage of life. And in this process, regular physical activity with a focus on strength is one of the greatest allies we can have. It transforms the body, yes, but it also transforms the mind, emotions, and the way we view aging itself. Therefore, far from being something optional or too difficult, strength training should be seen as an act of self-care, resilience, and self-love, because aging with strong muscles is ultimately aging with dignity and with the power to move forward, one steady step at a time. Food has always been one of the most fundamental foundations of human health. From birth to old age, it provides the nutrients that build, sustain, and repair the body. However, as we age, food ceases to be just a source of energy and pleasure and takes on an even more strategic role. It becomes a powerful tool for preserving autonomy, strength, and quality of life. In older adults, a balanced diet throughout the day is not only recommended, it is essential for slowing muscle loss, preventing disease, and ensuring physical and mental vitality. Over the years, the body begins to process nutrients differently. Digestion slows down, the absorption of certain vitamins decreases, and the basal metabolic metabolic rate tends to drop. In addition, factors such as changes in taste, reduced appetite, dental problems, medication use, and emotional issues such as loneliness can directly interfere with the eating habits of older adults. The result is often a silent picture of nutritional deficiencies, even among those who maintain a stable weight. Sarcopenia, for example, does not only appear in thin people, it can develop in any older adult who for some reason is not getting enough protein, calories, and micronutrients in sufficient quantity and quality. One of the most common mistakes is poor distribution of protein throughout the day. Many older adults consume almost all their protein at lunch, while breakfast and dinner consist mainly of simple carbohydrates such as bread, cookies, and coffee with milk. This pattern significantly reduces the body's utilization of protein, as the body responds better to small doses distributed throughout the day than to large amounts at one time. The ideal strategy is to include protein sources in every meal, from breakfast to dinner. Eggs for breakfast, lean meats or legumes for lunch, yogurt or cheese for an afternoon snack, and a light source of protein in the evening, as we have already seen, help to maintain constant stimulation of muscle synthesis. But it's not just protein that matters. Muscle building and maintenance also depend on a variety of micronutrients that act as indispensable cofactors in this process. Vitamin D, for example, is essential for muscle and bone health, as well as being involved in immune processes and hormone regulation. Many older adults are deficient in this vitamin, mainly due to lack of adequate sun exposure. Therefore, a diet that includes fatty fish, eggs, and fortified foods, combined with controlled sun exposure, is essential. In specific cases, supplementation may be recommended by a healthcare professional. Another important nutrient is calcium, which not only strengthens bones but also participates in muscle contraction. Without enough calcium, muscles cannot move effectively. Milk and dairy products, dark green vegetables, and oil seeds are good sources of this mineral. Magnesium acts to relax muscles and prevent cramps, a common condition in older people, and zinc, often overlooked, is vital for the immune system and also plays a role in cell repair, including muscle fibers. We cannot forget about good fats, which help in the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins such as A, D, E, and K and contribute to the integrity of cell membranes, including muscle tissue. Regular consumption of olive oil, avocados, fish, nuts, and seeds helps keep chronic inflammation low, which is beneficial for the entire body. On the other hand, excessive consumption of ultra-processed foods, rich in refined sugars, trans fats, and sodium, contributes to inflammatory and degenerative processes that accelerate muscle loss and increase the risk of chronic diseases. Another little discussed but crucial aspect is hydration. With age, the natural thirst mechanism weakens, and many older adults end up consuming less fluid than they need. Water is involved in all of the body's metabolic processes, including muscle building and recovery. Dehydration, even mild, can compromise muscle function, cause fatigue, and increase the risk of mental confusion and falls. Therefore, drinking water throughout the day, even if you don't feel thirsty, is a powerful and simple preventive measure. The secret, therefore, lies in regularity, variety, and individual dietary needs. Eating well does not mean eating a lot or restricting yourself too much. It means giving your body exactly what it needs, in the right amounts at the right times. It also means respecting your body's signals and adapting your diet to your specific conditions, digestive problems, chewing difficulties, chronic diseases, cultural and emotional preferences. An effective diet plan for older adults should be enjoyable, accessible, easy to prepare, and above all, sustainable on a daily basis. In this scenario, the guidance of a nutritionist with experience in geriatrics can make all the difference. Often, simple changes, such as adjusting meal times, replacing a processed food with a piece of fruit, or including a protein supplement in a snack, have profound effects on overall health. Eating well throughout the day is like building an invisible foundation that supports energy, movement, memory, and the joy of living. When we talk about healthy aging, the focus is almost always on diet, supplementation, and strength training, and indeed, these are indisputable pillars. However, there is one aspect that is often overlooked, yet absolutely essential for keeping the body active and functional throughout life: mobility. The simple act of keeping moving, stretching, turning, reaching, and changing position independently is directly linked to independence, the prevention of chronic pain, and especially the preservation of muscle mass and functional flexibility. That is why stretching and mobility exercises should not be seen as mere complements to physical activity, but rather as a central part of caring for the aging body. Over the years, it is natural for changes to occur in the structure of joints, tendons, and muscles. Collagen production decreases, cartilage wears down, and muscles tend to shorten and lose elasticity. In addition, modern lifestyles, which are increasingly sedentary, combined with limitations imposed by pain, chronic diseases, or fear of falling, lead many older adults to reduce their daily movements. This reduction does not seem so serious at first, but over time it becomes a vicious circle. The less you move, the more your body stiffens, and the stiffer you become, the more difficult it is to move. The result is progressive stiffness, loss of joint range of motion, muscle shortening, and inevitably muscle atrophy caused by disuse. This is where stretching and mobility exercises become valuable and strategic tools. Stretching not only prevents this shortening of muscle fibers, but also improves blood circulation in the tissues, contributes to cell oxygenation, and increases body awareness, something crucial for preventing falls. Mobility exercises work the joints throughout their full range of motion, promoting freedom of movement and facilitating simple everyday tasks such as getting dressed, picking up an object from the floor, or climbing a step. These often underestimated practices have a direct impact on preserving strength and muscle mass. This is because by keeping muscles stretched and joints free, the body can perform movements more effectively and with less risk of injury. A muscle that moves well is a muscle that remains active, and active muscles are preserved muscles. The opposite is also true. Muscles that remain shortened, stiff, and immobile over time enter a silent process of deterioration. The good news is that even with advanced age, the body responds quickly to the right stimuli. An older adult who begins to stretch regularly can, in a few weeks, regain some flexibility, relieve pain, and rediscover movements they thought were lost. It is important to note that stretching in older adults should not be confused with forced or painful movements. On the contrary, it should be gentle, conscious, and respectful of the body's limits. Consistency is more important than intensity. Practicing 10 to 15 minutes a day already brings concrete and sustainable benefits. Ideally, stretching should include all major muscle groups: neck, shoulders, arms, spine, hips, legs, and feet. Dynamic stretching in the morning helps wake up the body for the day, while static and gentle stretching in the evening helps relax the muscles and improve sleep quality. Mobility exercises, on the other hand, involve coordinated joint movements, often inspired by practices such as Pilates, Tai Chi, and yoga. These activities are extremely valuable in older adults as they work on balance, body awareness, motor coordination, and breathing, aspects that are deeply interconnected with muscle health and fall prevention. In addition, these practices carry significant emotional and social value. They promote well-being and self-confidence and can be performed in groups, fostering social interaction and combating social isolation. Another important point is the preventive role of stretching and mobility in relation to chronic pain. Many older adults live with persistent discomfort in their back, shoulders, knees, and hips. In most cases, this pain is the result of accumulated tension, poor posture, and untreated muscle shortening. Stretching regularly can relieve this tension, improve posture, and restore more natural and efficient movement patterns. In addition, by improving fluidity of movement, older adults feel more confident to engage in other forms of exercise, such as walking or weight training, further enhancing their overall health benefits. It is also worth remembering that aging should not be viewed as a passive phase. The nature of the human body is movement. When this movement is nurtured and stimulated, it sustains life with dignity, strength, and autonomy. An older adult who can raise their arms to reach something in the cupboard, bend down to put on their shoes, or walk lightly to the nearest park is not just active. They are preserving their independence and freedom of choice. And this starts with small gestures, those that often seem trivial but over time become decisive. Therefore, including stretching and mobility exercises in the daily routine of older adults is not a detail, but a strategy for profoundly preserving functionality. It is a way to keep muscles awake, tendons lubricated, joints free, and the mind connected to the body. It is also an invitation to listen to oneself, to be present, and to take care of oneself. In times of rushing and excessive medicalization, stopping for a few minutes to stretch is paradoxically a revolutionary act of preventive health. Aging healthily is not just a matter of luck or genetic inheritance. It is, above all, a daily construction made up of conscious choices, consistent habits, and especially appropriate professional monitoring. In the context of older adults' muscle health, medical and nutritional monitoring plays an absolutely central role. Often invisible, this structured care is what ensures that all strategies, diet, exercise, supplementation, and lifestyle are truly working in an integrated, safe, and efficient manner. Because behind every older adult who preserves their strength and independence, there is almost always an attentive team of professionals guiding, evaluating, and adjusting. As the body ages, it becomes more sensitive to small imbalances. A vitamin D deficiency that previously went unnoticed can now compromise muscle strength. An incorrect adjustment in protein consumption can accelerate sarcopenia. An incorrectly dosed medication can interfere with the absorption of essential nutrients, and a silent chronic disease such as insulin resistance can compromise the entire muscle metabolism. Therefore, regular medical evaluations and a personalized nutritional plan are one of the most effective ways to preserve the health of the body as a whole, with a special focus on muscle integrity. Doctors, especially general practitioners or geriatricians, have the role of observing aging in a comprehensive manner. They do not look only at a specific complaint, but at the body's functions as a whole: sleep, digestion, mobility, cognition, laboratory tests, cardiovascular, bone, and metabolic health. Given this overview, they can identify early signs of muscle loss, hormonal changes, rheumatic diseases, silent inflammation, or even the onset of geriatric syndromes such as frailty. In addition, physicians are responsible for constantly reviewing the list of medications in use, something extremely important since some drugs, even the most common ones such as corticosteroids or diuretics, can contribute to muscle degradation if used for prolonged periods without monitoring. On the other hand, the role of the nutritionist is equally fundamental. They are the ones who translate the body's needs into foods, portions, combinations, and schedules. In the case of older adults, this requires keen sensitivity, as it is necessary to take into account not only test results, but also everyday realities, what the elderly person can chew, what they have access to buy, how they prepare food, their cultural beliefs about food, and how their emotional health influences their appetite. Nutritionists are the link between nutrition science and daily practice, transforming technical recommendations into viable, tasty, and sustainable guidelines. Together, doctors and nutritionists can develop a preventive and personalized approach that goes beyond prescribing medication or generic diets. For example, an older adult who experiences unintentional weight loss, even if they are eating well, may be suffering from a malabsorption syndrome or a metabolic disorder that requires further investigation. In this case, only a careful clinical examination, combined with a thorough nutritional assessment, can detect the cause and initiate the correct intervention. The same is true for those who gain weight quickly and lose mobility. Excess weight is not always a reflection of overeating. It can be an inflammatory response, chronic edema, or a hormonal change. Medical and nutritional monitoring is also essential for conscious supplementation. Many older adults need supplements such as whey protein, vitamin D, omega-3, creatine, or multivitamins. However, indiscriminate use of these products can pose health risks, especially for those with kidney, liver, or cardiovascular problems. Knowing what to supplement, in what dose, for how long, and in what form, capsule, liquid, powder, natural, or synthetic, is a technical decision that should be made based on tests, symptoms, and clear goals. Supplementing is not taking for the sake of taking. It is accurately applying a resource that can make a big difference in preserving muscle mass and quality of life. Another aspect that is often overlooked is the emotional impact of professional monitoring. Many older adults, especially those who live alone or have experienced recent losses, fall into states of apathy, demotivation, and isolation. Being accompanied by professionals who listen, welcome, guide, and walk side by side throughout the aging process has profound therapeutic value. The simple fact of being heard, having a plan, feeling that there is still much to care for and achieve, restores self-esteem, hope, and the will to live well. In this sense, medical and nutritional support also acts as psychological and emotional support. In addition, teamwork, involving a doctor, nutritionist, physical therapist, physical educator, and even a psychologist, is what really ensures a comprehensive and humanized approach to the health of the elderly. No single area can provide all the answers. It is through the combination of knowledge that an effective intervention is built. Muscle strength, which we seek so hard to preserve, does not depend only on exercise and food. It depends on sleep, emotional balance, social interaction, motivation, and above all, feeling cared for with respect and competence. In short, aging with strong muscles and a functional body requires much more than goodwill. It requires guidance, planning, and constant review. And for that, medical and nutritional monitoring is the foundation of everything. It ensures that the elderly person is on the right track, that decisions are safe, that adjustments are made as the body changes, and that no deficiencies or excesses go unnoticed. Because when care is professional, aging becomes an active, positive process full of possibilities. So if there is one message to take home, it is this: don't wait until you lose strength to seek help. Start now. A well-cared for, well-nourished, and well-monitored body is a body that moves, sustains itself, and lives with dignity until the end. And that, more than any promise of eternal youth, is the true power of aging with health.